Hello, everyone, and welcome to Parents Making an Investment. Today, we're going to talk about sacred space. And what is a sacred space? First of all, a sacred space is a space that you set apart, that is used exclusively for a purpose. Now, when we hear the word sacred, usually it's tied to more of a spiritual um, reason or worship, which is true in a sense. um, it can be used for such. You can set a place apart for worship of, or for service or worship of a deity. But according also to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a sacred can also be devoted exclusively to service or use as of a person or purpose. So I just wanted to share with you that just within the past couple months, I would say probably about a year, almost going on to a year, I have created a sacred space. And I use this space, I set this space apart for time alone, time away. And for me, it's time for worship, it's time for prayer. Mainly, I set this space apart for prayer. And I go to the space the first thing in the morning. I start my day in this space. And so I spend time in worship and in prayer and meditation in this space. And so it's not a space that has just that came about because I live in a small apartment. So, but I created this space. And believe it or not, the space I created is used for other things. I created a space. It's just in my living room because I live, like I said, in a small apartment. So the space that I created is in my living room, right by my couch. It is a multi-purpose because the space is not only used for my time of spending alone in prayer, but also it's our living room. And so we watch TV in here. The kids are in here. They move around in this space. They make choices in this space. There's activities set up in this space. So it's multi-purpose. But when I'm in this space, the space is only used for that. It is only used for my time alone. It's only used for meditation. It's only used for worship. And it's only used for prayer in that time that I'm in this space. And so, therefore, I have just find that it's so important to have a sacred space. And this is why I come to you as a parent to talk about the importance of creating a sacred space and the benefits to creating a sacred space and what you can do in your sacred space, whether you are a believer or not, the things positive that you could do in your sacred space so you can have positive outcomes when it comes to parenting. And so I've created the sacred space, and it was over the summer. And I've also too set boundaries when it comes to this space. When I'm in this space, I set boundaries, and I allow that also that when I come into this space, that I don't bring any negative energy into this space when I'm in it. I bring positive thoughts. I don't bring negative thoughts, and I go into the space. I set that atmosphere too. I also play music while I'm in this space. So I will just have on meditation music. I put on mindful meditation music. I put on sometimes, most of the times, I put on worship music, just instrumental worship music to set the tone and the atmosphere, whether it's for prayer, whether it's for just worship. I set that atmosphere by bringing music. And then also I'll have like a pillow to kneel on or a blanket to sit on and, just whatever, so I can be comfortable. And sometimes I have a notebook. Sometimes I'll have with me like a piece of paper, just so that way if any thoughts come to mind, or even if God is speaking to me in this space at that moment and I want to recap, then I write it down. Even in this space at times, because I also I am a Sunday school teacher, sometimes the inspiration will flow in that space. So I make sure that I'm prepared to even write down my lesson, write down whatever I'm inspired to write about, or whatever inspiration I receive at that moment. I set that atmosphere up, whether it's a piece of paper or pencil or anything like that. I come into this space with a heart of expectancy. I expect to get something out of coming into the sacred space that I've created. Um, Whether it's to hear from God, I come in expecting that. Whether it's just to worship and to get to another level and another place than I started out, I come with a heart of expectancy that that is going to happen when I leave that space. Whether it's just to have energy for the day and just to be able to have a positive outlook on my day, I go into that space expecting that that is what I'm going to get coming out of the space. That my mindset is going to be different when I leave that space. So you have to come into the space with a heart of expectancy. And so that is what I do. And even knowing that, having that expectancy, then I am ready to start the day. And I find that it helps me to receive what comes out of today. Whatever that I'm going to face with, I have that heart of expectancy because I have channeled my energy in such a way in this space and prepare myself mentally. So then, therefore, whatever comes out of the day, I know and I receive it and say that this is the day that the Lord has made. And so, because I believe that, when I go into that space, then things that happen around me throughout that day, I know that it's a part of his plan. I know that it's a part of his will and it's a part of his purpose. So then it helps me to have a more positive outlook and a positive response, and also a positive reaction to whatever I'm facing throughout that day, because that space has helped me to also to have that positive mindset about things that I will face that day. Now, if the space that you set apart is shared, like what I was saying to you about, I share this space because at first my space was in my living room. So I share that space with other people, my family that I live with, and then also whatever else my children do in that space, whatever else we do in that space. Sometimes we watch TV in this space, we do homework in this space, my kids play in this space. Um, let's see what else. We read in this space, we have company in this space, we celebrate in this space, we do birthday in this space because it is my living room. So, and that's fine, but it's setting this space apart when you're in this space. When you are in the space, you want to encourage that this space is used for the purpose that you intended to use for. And what I mean by that is, while you are using it as your sacred space, you need to set that standard. You need to set that standard with the rest of your family. So then they don't come in that space playing, wanting to turn on the TV, playing different music, talking about other things, playing games. And I model that behavior. And this is how my family knows that at that time that it is my sacred space, is because I don't bring anything else. I don't bring negative energy. I don't bring other noise. I don't bring any distraction when I'm in this space. And usually, probably the reason why it's it's easier for me to set that space up is because I go early in the morning. So I am in my sacred space early in the morning before my kids get up. I start my day in this space. When it's during the day, especially when it was summertime and my children were at home, there is a tone that I set. And I let them know verbally, no, you cannot come in here with the playing right now because I'm in my sacred space. Mommy's worshiping, mommy's praying right now, mommy's meditating right now. So I set that space up. And so they know that if you want to share this space with me, you need to make quiet choice in this space. You can sit on the floor if you like. You can lay if you like. You can get the yoga mats out if you like. You can get your blanket out if you like. And you can lay quietly. You can read a book if you like. You can pray if you like. You can listen to my music if you like. So I invite them in my space, but because I set the tone in that space, then I let them know what's appropriate for coming into that space, because this space is used for a specific purpose. And so therefore, can you teach children about sacred space? Yes, you can. You can teach them by even modeling that behavior, by you setting the tone and letting them know what's expected in that space, like what I was just saying. Then therefore, they know that this is what this space is being used for. And so when that time comes around, then they will use that space for what you intend for it to be used for. Now, do they play and everything after that? Yeah. When I leave this sacred space, when I leave this place that I have devoted exclusively for a purpose, for a use, which is prayer and praise and worship and meditation and inspiration. Yes, when I leave that space, then they know that that space then is now can be used for something else. Now they can use the space for writing or coloring or playing or watching TV. But it's when I'm in that space that it needs to be respected as my sacred space. So what I'm saying to you today is the benefits to having a sacred space and to starting your day. I find that when you have a sacred space and you set this space and you devote it exclusively for mindfulness, for meditation, for starting your day, even mainly meditation, even if it's just yoga, or even getting your thoughts together, and even just clearing your mind. And it could happen throughout the day. If you need that time and a moment to clear your mind, and you do that through meditation, then you can create a sacred space so you have a place to do that. You could even if you use this space for even writing, if you're a writer, creating a sacred space exclusively for the purpose of writing. And so you set that space up just for that. And that's the only thing that's going to happen in that space while you are in that space is writing. This allows your thoughts to flow. And even when you don't bring negative energy into the space and you purpose in your heart not to bring negative energy, then it's easier for your thoughts to flow when it comes to writing. It's easier for your thoughts to flow when it's positive. And so that is one of the benefits to creating a sacred space. And also not bringing energy is another benefit to creating sacred space and your thoughts. And also I've realized the benefit of having and creating a sacred space is I realize it over a period of time. And so therefore, like I shared with you, it helps me, and sacred space can help you to be able to, when you are starting your day and going through whatever you're faced with throughout that day, it helps you to have more of a positive outlook on whatever it is. It could be a conversation that you're having with an individual. It helps you to see the conversation more from a positive perspective. It helps you to see in your situations the glass half full instead of half empty. It helps to see all the things that you're blessed with as opposed to your have-nots. It helps you to always look at your haves And this is just from having just positiveness, positive thoughts, positive energy when you come out of that sacred space. Over time, you will realize that you will become more of a positive individual. You will think more clearly about the choices and the decisions that you're going to make, and you'll be more conscious and more discerning before you step into making a decision. You'll be more conscious about wanting to and desire to make that decision holistically, not just off of your emotion, because we can't sometimes just channel everything we do, a permanent decision, in a temporary situation. And so sometimes our emotion is temporary. And the decisions that we need to make at times as parents and as adults and a provider for our home and our family has to be permanent. So we don't want to make decisions off of our emotions, which are temporary, which are circumstantial. And so having that sacred space and spending that time alone for yourself in whatever way, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's worship, whether it's praise, it will help you to have that outlook. I've seen even with my children, because I've created this space, that they respect that space. They don't completely understand how to create their own sacred space, but they do respect it when I'm in my sacred space. And so then therefore they don't play, they're quiet. When they are playing on the floor, they're quiet. They whisper to one another. They play even if it's just one of them that's by my sacred space, and they're in the living room and I'm in the and they're in the dining room and I'm in the living room because it's the same space, it's just split. They're quiet when they're playing. And so therefore I apologize if the lighting on the video keeps changing, because it's like a partly sunny day outside and I'm by the window. And so the light keeps changing. And so the computer keeps trying to adjust with that change. So I apologize if that's distracting you. But back to what I'm saying is they then learn and they respect that. And so over time, I've noticed that they give the respect to my sacred space by being quiet. Now, I've moved my sacred space, but even I've seen that since I've moved my sacred space, that they also don't come into the space and they don't use it for something else if I'm in that space. They come and they'll sit. We have our family devotion in the space, and they know that this is what it's for. And so they'll join me. They'll be quiet, and they'll also spend time praying as well with me. And we do our devotions. We read our devotion book together in this space. But when I'm not in the space, then they'll come in quietly and do something else in the space. And so I even find that it's not just me that uses sacred space. My husband will come and he'll lay on the floor and meditate in this sacred space. And the children know that. They know that daddy's meditating right now. So they either move to another space and they move their playing to another place in the house, or they'll just be quiet in that space. So can you teach children about sacred space? Yes, you can. And it might look different, and them using it might be different from how you use it. But eventually they will recognize if you set that tone and you come into your space and you set the boundaries and the standards in that space, they'll recognize that space when you're in it. Now, that space don't exist sometimes when you're out of it, because like I said, I'm using it exclusively for one thing, but then when I'm done using that space, then it becomes still the living room that they know that it is. And so when you're sharing your space with, another purpose, they will adjust and they will know because you're in it. And so they'll know that that's what you're using it for. And then there's times where then when you're not there, they will use it for what we have always as a family, or you have always a family practiced for it to be, whether it's a living room, whether it's the dining room, whether it's the bedroom, whether it's the hallway, whether it's a kitchen, whether it's just a small room, a small nook that you have in your apartment or your house, in your home. If you have a room that you can actually make a sacred space, that is great. And I'm just wanting to share with you the benefits for creating a sacred space and the outcome, the lasting outcome for you as a parent and also as a provider, as a primary care provider, as a caretaker, as a supporting adult. Um, the benefits to doing that, even when you're around the children, and also the example that you're setting for them, and the behavior and the role that you're exemplifying in front of them and modeling for them, that it doesn't just it's not just temporary, but it'll continue to go on, and they'll remember this, because we need that as parents, as supporting adults. We need time alone for ourselves. We need to be able to gather our thoughts, and we need to teach children to also take time for themselves, to debrief, and to also to just drain and to come down and to shift from high energy to low energy, and also to shift their thoughts, whether they've been thinking about school all day, but now to transition mentally and psychologically. We need to practice that mindfulness, and we need to demonstrate mindfulness and be able to see the importance to taking time for ourselves, time alone for ourselves, and having some meditation and mindfulness, so that way we can have positive outcomes as an individual. And then also for our children to be able to, when they're dealing with situations and circumstances, that they can step away from it and even think and gather their thoughts before they respond and react to a situation. And so right now, what I'm just doing is sharing with you what has been helping me for almost a year, and that is my sacred space. And so I hope that this will be a benefit to you. And I hope that you can create a sacred space exclusively for whatever you intend it to be, whether it's just to remove negative energy, to gain positive energy, to develop some mindfulness, to meditate, to pray, to worship, to praise, to be inspired, to write. Whatever it is that is going to make you a better individual and to live out your purpose, create that sacred space today. If you have any questions, also about teaching your children wherever they are at the stage that they are, please comment below. If you have any question about sacred space and how you can set one up, please comment below. Leave me a comment below. And then also, if you are on here and watching, and you are a part of us parents making an investment for the first time, please subscribe. And that way we can partner together in planting seeds and investing in our children, so that way they will be confident and positive adults in the future. Take care, and I look forward to hearing from you.